Hello and welcome to the online orientation for the Blue Ridge Medical Reserve Corps. We're going to take just a few minutes and talk about what the Medical Reserve Corps is and how everything works and get all of our volunteers ready for deployment. So while I'm setting up my screen here, a little bit of information about me. My name is Tanya Ferraro. I'm the coordinator for this unit and I've been with the Medical Reserve Corps for about 3 years. I've worked in emergency management for a little over 7 years, and my focus during that time has mainly been public information and volunteers in disaster. So today we're going to talk about who we are, where we are, what we do, how we deploy, what the requirements are for the Medical Reserve Corps, and then how we wrap all of this together and actually do it. Basically, we're a network of medically and non-medically trained volunteers. You do not have to be medical to be in the Medical Reserve Corps. We're the only volunteer support network to the Virginia Department of Health. We are trained, we're credentialed, and disaster ready. And then, obviously, we're awesome. In the fall of 2001, of course, we had the events during 9/11 happen, and from that we saw 30 to 40,000 volunteers just sort of descend upon New York City. And it was great to see that sort of community outreach, that outpouring of support. But on a volunteer management level, it was a mess. And so when the 9/11 Commission report came out, one of their big focuses was volunteer management. How are we going to get volunteers ready for a disaster before it happens so that they can do these different activities but do them safely? So in 2003, the Medical Reserve Corps was established, and in 2009, the Blue Ridge MRC was actually established. In 2013, we celebrated our 10-year anniversary and still continue to go pretty strong. You might be familiar with Central Virginia already, but if you're not, we do serve 4 counties and 2 cities, and we're one of over 975 national units, which is a number that continues to grow every day, and one of 31 Virginia units. The entire state of Virginia is covered with Medical Reserve Corps, and normally one Medical Reserve Corps unit is usually partnered to one health district. There's a couple of cases in the state where it's a little bit different. I actually cover the Central Virginia and the Roanoke-Allegheny health districts, but it gives us a great opportunity to do some cross-training, some exercises together, and partner with another unit and see how that works on a regional level. So in Virginia, every health district has 3 key positions that the Virginia Department of Health has put their money in emergency preparedness towards. Those positions are an emergency planner, an epidemiologist, and a Medical Reserve Corps coordinator. Basically, that's the key team of people who are in charge of getting the health department and the health district ready for disasters. So all of the Medical Reserve Corps partners with their local health department in the state of Virginia. It's not necessarily like that across the nation. Most places it is, but in Virginia, that is something we do have. We work under the direction of the health director, and that's why it's such a nice partnership, especially for our medical volunteers. Because let's say you're a nurse or you have some kind of health clinical certification. If you wanted to use that in a volunteer way, you need to work under a physician in order to use your license. Well, being partners with the health department actually allows us to do that by working under the health director's license. We do provide risk and liability coverage in the state of Virginia, and of course we follow the rules of HIPAA to protect patient privacy. And if you have any questions about HIPAA that are not answered by getting that information when you do your application, just give me a call and we'll make sure we get to that. You might be familiar with this picture. This picture is actually from the Boston bombing. During the Boston Marathon, our MRC partners were out there to staff some staged response. First aid, giving out water, keeping watch over the crowd or any medical needs that might arise. In this picture, the person in the red hat is actually a Medical Reserve Corps volunteer who was on site that day. In the yellow, you have an EMT, and the person in the middle with the hat on is a physician. And the person that they're helping actually ended up being a key person in identifying who the bombers were. And so it was an incredible opportunity for the Medical Reserve Corps to assist all of the lives, and we saw what the outcome of that was during this event. A little more about what we do. We provide coordinated efforts, which means that whether you're medical or non-medical, you have a coordinated response. You know where to go, what to take with you, exactly what you'll need before you ever go anywhere. We do support the local health department in all their initiatives and events that we can. So even though our roots are in disaster, when the health department has something important to them, we try to partner with them and make it important to us. That doesn't mean that you have to participate in every event or initiative, but it does mean there are a few other opportunities outside of disaster management that you can participate in if you'd like to. We prepare in advance of an emergency so our family and our friends and the people we leave behind are ready, so that if we need to deploy, we know they're taken care of and safe. Our training can be done regionally, over a district, over a team, even individually like you're doing right now. We maintain credential information, and we fulfill the requirements of Emergency Support Function 8, Health and Medical, from the Presidential Directives. Basically, what that means is in the Presidential Directives during a disaster, the President says there are certain functions that must be completed, and there are capabilities we really need to be able to handle. Health and medical is what the Virginia Department of Health is responsible for, but with the amount of staff that they have, should a disaster affect the entire community, the Medical Reserve Corps is absolutely instrumental in seeing to it that we protect all of our citizens. The requirements for the Medical Reserve Corps are actually pretty simple. There aren't any time requirements, so you don't have to put in an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a month, a quarter, a year. We do ask everyone to stay involved, but the requirements right now are to complete your online application by going to vamrc.org and then completing the orientation, whether it's online or in person. Our medical professionals are asked to submit a copy of their professional licensure so that if you do want to use that license one day in a response, we have a copy of it on file. We have a core competency list in our training matrix, but we do recommend 2 key components of that list, and those are the Introduction to Incident Command Systems 100 and the National Incident Management Systems 700. Both of those courses are offered online through FEMA's website. They're FEMA courses. They're free of charge, can be done whenever you have time, and they're great for your professional jobs, but they also tell you some key information about how the health department works in a disaster, where we fit in, where the Medical Reserve Corps fits into that, and how a disaster response works as far as the communication side and who's in charge. We have 4 different levels of Medical Reserve Corps volunteer. Level 4 basically means you completed your online application and you're in the system. A level 3 volunteer is the first deployable volunteer. That's the first level you can be deployed at. And after you complete this orientation and the survey and the link below this video, you'll be a level 3 too. As long as you completed your HIPAA and risk and liability, you're ready to go. Now, a level 2 volunteer means you've completed the core competencies. So again, in that training matrix, we have a list of all the recommended courses that make up that core competency list. And after this training, I'll make sure you have a copy of that. Our level 1 volunteers are our volunteer leadership. If you're interested in any of these other levels and don't have the resources to get there or have questions about them, just give us a call and we'll make sure we clarify that. We have a lot of different training. Even though we schedule a lot of training, if there's something that you want to know about that you don't see training for, just send us an email, and chances that we can provide that training are pretty good. We do a lot of CEUs wherever possible, and we never have a cost to members, regardless of what the training is. We do have the MRC training matrix that lists those recommended courses, as I've mentioned before. You can increase your MRC level. We do have recognition, and then if you're interested in honing some of your training into something specific that interests you about response or public health, we do have several different team training series that are available. I recommend that after you're done with this training, you hop on the Virginia Train system if you haven't already. You can find that website at va.train.org. And while there's not an insert for this presentation, I will send you some information on how to register for that. It's important because any statewide and a lot of the regional and district exercises or trainings that we participate in require registration through this system. But it also keeps a track of your certificates and maintains some of that information for you. As far as teams go, we have a lot of different options, and this certainly isn't an exhaustive list. If you're interested in leading, or if you're interested in social media monitoring during an event or before an event happens, If you're interested in mass fatality response, we have a team that works with the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner as a state team, where you actually go to the medical examiner's office, continue some additional training, and can respond anywhere in the state that you feel comfortable, should there be a mass fatality event. We have epidemiology, which is supporting the epidemiologist if there's a disease outbreak and figuring out where did that outbreak start, where is it going, who's affected. And just a list. Lots of things include zombie preparedness because, well, if you're ready for zombies, you're ready for anything. So some potential membership activities, we could certainly be called to support some medicine dispensing clinics or epidemiological investigations. Very interesting, if it's outside of your scope of normal practice, these are still open to you. You don't have to have experience in these things. We'll give you the tools that you need. And if we do need some particular experience, we'll let you know. You can assist with local emergencies. Drills and exercises are a great way to see what a disaster is like from a victim's perspective. Yes, we do get involved in the response in drills and exercises sometimes, but there's often times where they need people to play those victims, to be moulaged in those fake wounds, and then go through what it's like to be in a disaster, transported to the hospital. And that's a great perspective to have for anyone. We can also be called to support some shelter operations. We're really good partners with our Red Cross friends here in the area. And outside of that, outside of the local shelters, we have 2 state-managed shelters that we could certainly be called to support. One is at James Madison University, and the other one is at Virginia Tech. And what a state-managed shelter is basically if the state feels like we're going to be a potential evacuation area for other people in the state or for neighboring states, they'll open up these shelters, and it's the responsibility of the health department to protect the health and medical needs in the shelter. Of course, that can quickly exhaust our local resources and certainly exhaust our health department staff, especially if it goes over several days. So the Medical Reserve Corps is really where a lot of those key components are filled in as we start to see a response and stretch those days. Community health education, if there's something that you're interested in, certainly getting our information out to the community is a wonderful activity for the Medical Reserve Corps. We have a lot of potential response areas. So the slide, I can't tell if it's scary or not, but there are a lot of different ways that things can go wrong. We have the railroads go through, and we've even seen that the cars do get derailed. Hospitals do get inundated. The derecho came through. We do get severe winter weather. We do get disease. We are a potential evacuation area. All of these things are true, and all of these things can affect what the Medical Reserve Corps gets involved with. And the reason is because every single disaster that ever happens involves public health. And of course we didn't used to, but now earthquakes and tornadoes. As far as deployments is concerned, the first thing you need to know is please do not self-deploy. And the reason is because, number one, we want to protect you. Your safety is extremely important in volunteering with Medical Reserve Corps. And if you self-deploy, we don't have that accountability system in place before you get there. Number two, risk and liability is only covered when our health director approves our response. Self-deploying means that you haven't been approved to go and takes away any of the protections that we've been allowed to extend. So we really want to make sure that we're keeping everyone safe and protecting everyone as much as possible by not self-deploying. If we do have an event, though, you'll be alerted through the Virginia Volunteer Health System. You won't have an insert again, but I will make sure that information is emailed to you on how to keep your profile up to date. This is especially important because if your email or your phone number are wrong, you won't get the alerts and you won't get a chance to say that you're available or not available. If you do get that alert, you can click yes or no on your availability. You'll receive a confirmation that you're going to be activated, as well as all the information you need to get there and get there safely. You'll deploy, sign in, and then sign out of your scene, which is so important on making sure that we're tracking not just our hours, but also the safety of everyone who's involved. And then record your volunteer hours and return them to your coordinator. This helps us show exactly what our value is to the health district and allows us to keep getting funded to participate in these projects. This is a little bit of information about liability and risk management. If you're interested in where we are in the Code of Virginia and what says it's okay to do these activities, this is the information you need. In short, though, it's extended to medical, non-medical emergency, non-emergency, and all public health activities. If you're with the Medical Reserve Corps, we're going to do our absolute best to protect you while you're there and then if anything happens. Again, I'll reiterate, the activities must be approved by the local health director for that coverage to apply to you. And that's it, a basic recap. We've talked about who we are, where we are, what we do, how we deploy, what the requirements are, and then some of those systems that I think you're going to need if you want to have a great experience in the Medical Reserve Corps. If you have any questions, the next slide will have my contact information, and that information is also listed below. My phone number and my email and my Twitter handle are here, but you should know the Blue Ridge MRC is also on Facebook and Twitter itself, and we would love for you to friend us and follow us and get some of that great information connected. All right, so that does it for your orientation. Thank you so much for being a part of this unit, because we really cannot handle these disasters without people just like you who are willing to take their time and their skills and apply it to emergency response. So thank you. If you'll take a minute now, there's a survey. There's a link right down below this video. It's about 6 or 7 questions long, but 2 of those are what your name are and which unit you're with. Fill that out. Email me and let me know that you have, and we'll get your level updated. Thank you again, and have a wonderful day.